In this video, we're going to go through 30 things that you should know about Dota 2, but maybe you didn't. Now, quick disclaimer, it is currently the holidays and I have just moved house, so I've been unable to make any new content. And so what I'm doing here is I'm adding up the different videos of 5 different things that I've done through the past and making one big collection. For those of you that maybe didn't see all of the recent ones, or for anyone new to the channel who maybe wants to go back and check out some of the other ones. This isn't something that I'll do often, but I wanted to do this just to throw myself back into actually getting something up, and then we'll get some regular content coming out again every few days from here on out. That being said, you may hear me say number 1, number 2, number 3 a few times in this video, but just continue on like it's normal. Let's go. Number 1, if you think someone is gonna be initiating on you, for example, a stupid faceless void jumping into chrono you, and you have access to a hex, a Yules, or an insta-disable item like this, or an ability like a hex on Lion, for example, you can actually pre-cast this if you have vision on them, and just kind of keep cancelling it and pre-casting it so that when they do jump on you, they'll instantly get hexed, and then they'll probably call you a scripter and report you, but the report won't work because you weren't actually scripting, don't worry. But this can be really useful because what happens is as soon as they get in range of that, you've already given the command and they will immediately be hexed, unable to do chrono. Then your team can jump on them and murder them. So for example, if you see someone who literally looks like, this guy's probably going to jump on me, and you're stood near your tower killing creeps, click the item on the hero, your guy is going to start running towards going in range. But then if you get a little bit further away than where you want to go, just cancel it, move back, and then do the same thing again. Keep repeating this, and then once the guy jumps on you, he gets insta disabled and you can just murder him. Number 2 on this list is super useful for anyone who has conjures such as Invoker. Now, the setting that I use for the conjures here is in settings, and then options, and then advanced options. In here you can set what your summoned units are going to auto attack. Now, normally it's set to the standard one, of course, which will just make them attack anything nearby as long as you haven't moved them. So for example, when I conjure my Force Spirits here, you're going to see they're immediately going to attack Ember Spirit. Now this is okay, and it can be useful in some situations for quickly getting off an attack, but it's also a little bit awkward in lane if, for example, Ember Spirit was a creep and not like an actual hero. You may need to conjure your Forge Spirit in lane, or any of the conjures that you have with any other hero, to immediately attack the Earthshaker. But if I've conjured and they've attacked this, I then have to wait that slight second, which is pretty important in some situations, before they can then attack the Earthshaker again. You're just missing out on a little bit of damage. If you change this to do either never, or to have it the same as hero, which mine is never auto attack for my hero, you can then have it set so that when you conjure them, they're not going to attack anything, meaning their attacks are ready immediately. So from this, I can conjure them here and then issue an attack command on the Earthshaker, and immediately all of them are going to attack that target straight away. That way I'm not wasting any cooldowns of attack rate and stuff. So being able to do this obviously is just going to mean that you're going to get an extra couple of hits in straight away, but considering these guys also reduce armor and other conjures have important effects as well, even though it's only just one auto attack, it could be the difference between someone killing you and you killing them instead. When it's like a very, very close thing, that extra auto attack can definitely make a difference. In the exact same location of the advanced options, you can actually set a timer for a minimap misclick protection. Now, this may seem like something that, okay, just stop clicking the minimap, you idiot, right? You would think so, but I screw this up all the time. Now, if you're someone who accidentally clicks their minimap a lot, I do it in fights. I was chasing someone, click my map, and I'm frick, and I got to double tap F1, and get back to my character, and then your camera's all screwed up, and it's just, right. If this happens to you, set your timer on here so that it doesn't happen. The way this works is it will have a certain amount of time that your mouse entering the minimap will not be able to click on the actual minimap. This caps out at half a second. Mine is set to half a second because I do this way too much. But you can set it lower. It just means that if you accidentally drag your mouse in there and click it, your camera's not going to fly all over the place. This has been a lifesaver for me. I still do it sometimes, but very rarely compared to what I used to. So it's a worthwhile thing to know about. So this channel is growing pretty quickly and I appreciate every single one of you guys, but many of you that watch all the videos haven't clicked that subscribe button yet. So please check that you are subbed. Make sure you do click it. It helps out an absolute ton. And the more people that sub to the channel, the bigger the channel gets and the more time I can spend making more content. Anyway, well, let's get back to the video. Now this next example is going to be about the Blink Dagger. Now for this example, I've actually enabled Quick Cast, which I don't normally use, but we're going to talk about that and why in just a second. But Keep an eye on the actual place of where my character is, because the blink dagger has a little bit of a trick to getting the max range with it. Now with quick cast it's a little bit more difficult, which is why we're starting with this, but I'm on this little red patch here, and you'll notice that the furthest I can blink is around about this rock here. If I put my cursor over here and then blink, right? I get onto this rock here and then I can blink back, but if you go outside the range of a blink dagger, the actual like 1200 range, you're not going to be able to go the max distance. However, if you know where about the max distance is, which is about here, you can actually blink just past where it's going to take you, unless you go too far. Now, as you can see, we made a little bit of a mistake with that last one by like, oh, it might be here. We end up all the way back here. But if we know it's, you know, a little bit more further out, then we can get that little bit of extra distance, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but it definitely is if you're trying to reach something like over a cliff, for example. You can make that big difference, unless you go like this and you end up like not going quite far enough and you're, ah, shit, damn, I could have got over there, but I screwed it up. Now, if you disable quick cast, even if it's just for this blink dagger, you can actually see the range of it. So I know that as long as I click inside the circle, boom, we're going to get the max distance out of this, and we can do this every single time without fail, because we can actually see where the edge is. So this is a lot easier for me. I like to not have it on quick cast, but if you guys do use it, then obviously you'll have to just sort of get used to it over time. But I know from here I can reach over this cliff, and I know I can reach back. But obviously before we saw if I went like this, we just don't quite make it, and this is pretty important. Like, it doesn't make a big difference. So one, I would probably suggest not using quick cast for it anyway. That's just my personal preference. But two, get used to the actual range of this, because if you click outside of the range, you go shorter. Clicking inside of the range, you can go further. So very important. All right, so for this final one is kind of going to be another invoker tip, but this works for anybody else who has an invis as well, and that is that you can actually dodge projectiles and some other abilities you can take advantage of by going invis too. Now you might be thinking, of course, but they're just going to have dust. A lot of people aren't going to buy dust on you just because of an invoker, or they're not going to use it unless you're invis already, and in this situation it's already too late. So the example is, for example, a Vein Spirit can come over and use the magic missile, right? Now, this can be bad, but if you're planning on going on Venge and you know she's going to stun you, and that can be the difference between you getting her or not, you can ready up Ghost Walk and then maybe like your Cold Snap or something. Or if you're fast enough, you can just invoke it anyway. And then when she goes to cast this on you, you just go invis, and then you can immediately go on her like this. You've dodged it, and like I say, you're not taking advantage of the actual invis to stay invisible and get away. You're purely using it to dodge. So you're going on her, she's not going to dust just because you're going on her, you know? So then you can go on her like this, and you can take advantage of it, and you can just dodge that spell. Now this works, of course, the same with Wraith King's Stun as well. It's the same idea. It's going to use this, you're going to go invis. Oops, maybe we use a little bit quick. Then we're going to go invis, and we can do the exact same thing. It's all the same idea. This also works for Skywrath's slow. It doesn't work for the Arcane Bolt, unfortunately. If I use Arcane Bolt and then go invis, it's still going to hit me and deal the damage. But if we do it with the slow and then go invis, no damage, and it completely negates it. No slow or anything like that. So it's super useful on a lot of stuff. Now, another one you can do, which Jugs are going to pick up on this pretty quick, so this is why this is just quickly mentioned at the end, is if Jug ults you, you can bait it and go invis. It's going to stop straight away. But he is going to buy dust. Like, this will happen maybe once in a game. You can go on him in a lane, and you're like, okay, I can see that he's going to be all right. He doesn't have dust. You see, like, he doesn't have dust. And then later on, check if he has it. If he does, don't do it. And then when you go to attack him, and you're going on him, and he's like, oh, shit, I'm going to die. He's going to ult you. And then you just go invis, and it's going to immediately stop or go to something else, obviously. And then you can come back out again and kill him after that. So, but always check if he has the dust first if you're going to do this. And obviously, anyone else that you're probably going to bait a stun from, you can go on them, hit them, and then as they do the stun, you go invis, and then you come immediately out and kill them. So you can do this with Invoker, you can do it with anyone who has another invis, but you need to take into account their fade time. Invoker's invis is instant, which is why I use him as the example. But if we get Bounty Hunter, for example, it's going to be a bit harder to do just because of his fade time. So the fade time on this is 0.25 seconds at the max level, which is not too bad. But if we go and use the Q, we're going to have to go invis very quickly to make sure we actually get it. If we're very close, this is going to be a lot harder to do. We'll throw this at this guy, and then we'll use the Q. We'll go invis, and you see it's still going to hit. But if we've got a distance from it, we know that we're okay because we've got a bit of distance. we can get away with it and dodge it just like that. So super useful. This is one that's taken a little bit longer to explain, but it's definitely worth it, and hopefully you find it useful. Now, people are going to know this, but I'm going to guarantee that there's going to be someone watching this video that is going to be like, wait, well, that actually includes that as well. And we're going to be talking about the attributes that you get from buying things like any sort of stats in the game. Now, you know that there's strength, intelligence, and agility, but did you know what all of the benefits from buying these are? Now, of course, if you buy the attribute of your actual hero style, so if you're a strength hero and you buy a strength attribute, you're going to get damage from those stats as well. The same goes for agility. Buying agility, you get damage, and the same goes for intelligence. Buying intelligence, you get damage from that too. But you also get other stuff too that everybody gets. Now, strength will actually give you health and HP regen. So a lot of people will probably think that it only gives health, but it will also give you regen as well. Agility is going to give you attack speed and armor for each point, and intelligence is going to give you 3 things. It's going to give you mana regen, and it's going to give you magic resistance. So keep in mind that getting these things are also going to give you a few different other benefits than just damage or the basic things of like strength gives health, agility gives armor, intelligence gives like mana or whatever. There's the other benefits to them as well. So be honest, did you know all of the benefits from this? Did you know about that magic resistance from intelligence? Be honest, let me know in the comments. Next up is understanding what Roshan drops and when. Now, we all know that Roshan probably is going to be dropping the Aegis on kill 1, and then on kill 2 you're going to get the Aegis and a piece of cheese. Most people know that. But on kill 3, since the new patch where we have a Dire Pit and a Radiant Pit, you are going to have different benefits from killing him in each location from kill number 3. On Roshan kill number 3, you're either going to get a Refresher Shard or you're going to get a Aghanim's Blessing. Now, I would probably argue that in most situations, an Aghanim's Blessing is by far a lot better because it's so damn expensive, and the Refresher Shard is a one-time use and then it's gone. So, if you are planning on killing Roshan for the 3rd time, let him walk to the Radiant side of the map before you kill him, if you can do so. This is going to mean that he will have an Aghanim's Scepter or an Aghanim's Blessing, even better, rather than having a Refresher Shard. If he is on the Dire side, you'll get the Refresher Shard, and if he's on the Radiant side, then you will get the Aghanim's Blessing. And then from here onwards, so every 4th, 5th, 6th kill, this will be the same from here on out. But Roshan number 3, giving you the right item, could absolutely be game-changing, so keep it in mind. If your team is going to kill Rosh for the 3rd time, and he is on the Dire side, maybe consider asking them to wait until he moves to the Radiant side so you can grab that blessing. Did you know that most of you guys that watch these videos all the time aren't actually subscribed? So if you are someone who's enjoying this video, one, I have a ton more of these videos coming, but also most of you aren't subscribed, so please do check that you are and click that sub button. It will help this small channel grow an absolute ton, and of course, the more subs, the better the channel does, and the more time I can spend making content for you guys. That being said, let's get back to the video. As you know, the beginning of the game starts at nighttime, and you can actually check if the enemy has a ward here, because towers, this is kind of like a double tip, towers don't have max range or max vision at nighttime. You actually have to get pretty close before they can hit you, right? So if you're stood here outside the circle by holding Alt and you can see the circle, if you're stood inside the circle and it's not hitting you, you know they don't have vision of you right now. And if they had a ward and they could see you, if the tower did attack you when you walked up this hill and stood here, the same goes for on the Radiant side as well if you stood here. If they had vision of you, that means they have a ward either over here or just right where you are. So chuck a sentry down like right here, then you'll be able to find that ward, deward it as well. And if it doesn't hit you, this means you can safely ward yourself and know that they don't see you doing that. As long as the tower doesn't hit you in nighttime, then you're absolutely good to go. Number 5, did you know if you're a Templar Assassin player, you can actually use Refraction to not have a blink go on cooldown? That's right, if you get hit while Refraction is on, it doesn't actually count as taking damage, of course, because it only removes a Refraction stack. This means that blink doesn't go on cooldown. So if you get initiated on and you have Refraction up, you can still blink even if you've just been hit. It will not be unavailable. This is super useful and important. A lot of people will use blink to initiate into a fight, but a lot of the time you may want to go in first if you can, run in with the slow from your ultimate, and then use blink to either continue chasing or to get yourself out of sticky situations. This is super useful, and of course it's something that you definitely want to be taking advantage of in your own games. So tip number 1 is going to help you against anybody that likes to spam the animation of spells but cancel them in lane. So Kunkka, for example, is a really good one of this, because in lane, if you had creeps in your last hitting, for example, against him, he will every now and again just cast what looks like he's using a torrent on you, right? And he'll let the animation go through and then cancel it, and it costs him no mana. But you're every now and again going to think he's cast that and I need to move, and it's going to put you out of position. Maybe you miss a last hit because of it. You're scared that he's going to go on you and initiate on you. Maybe you're being ganked, right? But you can actually know if he's done this or not by having a magic stick or a magic wand with you, because if he casts this and it cancels it, you're not going to get a charge for the magic stick. However, if he actually does cast this and it goes through, you're going to get a charge. So you're like, okay, I see the charge, I need to move. I know that he's actually cast it this time. If you have a magic stick or a magic wand with you, you don't actually have to worry about this, because I mean, you see that the charge doesn't go up and you're like, ah, you didn't even cast it, whatever. The second you see that number change, that's when you can react. So this is definitely something that could be super useful and interesting to know about if someone's going to fake some abilities like this that may like get you out of position and whatnot. And so if you are someone who has a magic stick or a reason to have it, then you can take advantage of this by checking it as well. Next up, we're going to talk about cast ranges. Now, as you know, if you are someone who doesn't quick cast, you can actually see the range of an ability by pressing down the actual ability keybind for it, and then looking for this circle here. Now, this is the actual cast range of this and indicates how far your ability can reach. However, some abilities in the game, many abilities in fact, actually reach just after this, or quite a bit further in fact. So for example, if we look here, we have a Kunkka who is going to be our person who's unfortunately going to get bullied in this video. That's fine though, don't worry about it. We can actually reach the Kunkka with our power shot, even though it's going to end here. So it says that this is the range of power shot, but if we cast it here and we let it charge up, you're going to see that it does in fact still hit Kunkka. So all the way back here, even though the range indicator is here, once you're familiar with the hero, you will be able to know that I can actually still reach that Kunkka from here, or I can hit that creep wave or anything like that. If you're trying to get a last hit and you're just not quite in range, you can still hit this. So your range on this is actually still bigger than what it indicates. Still worth knowing about. Now the same goes for people like Lion and Nyx with their stuns as well. If you ground target this, which you have to with Nyx anyway, you can reach a little bit further. Nyx isn't as impressive as Lion's, as you can still reach Kunkka from this distance. But Lion's here, if you want to target it, you have to be all the way over there. But if you ground target this with Lion, you're going to be able to hit him from all the way back here. That's like almost double. It's not quite, but like almost double the range from targeting it on the ground. We can still hit him. Obviously, this is more difficult, and with Lion, a little bonus one here is with Lion is if you actually Q click, no matter what happens, it will always hit. You can never miss as long as you're in range for it. But the extra range that you get from like ground clicking this with Lion is insane. It's so much more. So obviously, if you have a hero that you think this could actually apply to, check it out and see, and then keep being familiar with that sort of hero that can do it, because it can get you extra last hits, it can get you a kill secure, it can also get kill secure guys, not a kill steal, but it can also just be super useful in many situations. For those of you that are new around here, if you haven't clicked that subscribe button, this channel is growing pretty quick and I appreciate all the support. It helps out a ton, but most of you guys watching all the videos aren't actually subscribed, so do give that subscribe button a click. I would appreciate it so damn much. But other than that, let's get back to the video. Moving on, we're going to talk about the observer wards and the observer wards that are then stacked with the sentry wards. This is because there's a little bit of a typo, I believe. Maybe this used to be how it is, but right now it's not how it works, so it's worth knowing about. If you look at the stacked observer wards and sentry wards together, it's going to say that the observer vision range is 1200 units, right? Now, for those of you that may be thinking, wait a minute, that seems less than what an observer ward should give you, right? 1200. So if you look at Nyx here, he has an observer, and this one says it's going to give vision of 1600 radius. So why is it less if you stack it together? Well, this is just a typo. It doesn't actually do that anymore, or if it ever did anyway, it may not have done, but I can prove to you right now that it doesn't make a difference. However, it does look like it when you're going to place it. For example, we're going to place down this observer ward here, and you can see the green circle showing the outline of where the actual range is going to reach. So we're going to put this slightly into the fog here. We're going to put it just over here, and you can see it did give that full actual vision over here. However, if we do the same with this observer ward and we put it on top, you can see that the green circle is way inside the other one. So we put it directly on the top, but the green circle is so many more units inside. But if you look closely, you can see that the blue outline where the green circle doesn't quite match still shows the actual vision that you're going to get. But if you're rushing in a game and you're not paying attention, you may just look at the green circle and think, wait, why is this one so small? What the frick? But I can tell you, if I place this just after this other one, the circle is on the inside of the old one, but the vision will still be given. So it does still give the full vision range. Don't worry about it. You don't have to like place the sentry ward first to get your regular observer back. Someone mentioned this in the comment, and I was so confused about it at first. I was like, wait, this can't be a thing, right? Well, it seems like there is a typo about it. So even though it says that, you will still get your full vision out of the observers. So don't panic about it, but I thought it was interesting all the same. Did you guys know it actually said this? I had no idea. Now this one, most of you guys are going to know about, really, you are, but this is for the newer players or the very casual players that may be returning after a long break, or you just don't really mess around with the client. And that is that you can actually edit your hero select page or your heroes page in general. Now this is something that's super useful, and I like it. I think it's a really cool thing to know about, and it can definitely make the difference when you're trying to learn new heroes, or if you're unsure of like which heroes are meta, you can follow a tier list and then add them in, the ones you want to learn and the ones you want to focus on through this actual patch and whatnot, and don't forget them during picks. Quite often during a pick phase, I will look at a lineup and think, right, what heroes can I actually pick? What's a good hero of this game? And I always just go Invoker, Wind Ranger, Invoker, Wind Ranger, over and over and over again. And then I'm like, I would have liked to have played something else, but I'm panicking because of pick time and I'm losing 2 gold every single second. And I just pick Invoker, right? But if you edit your actual page by coming down here and making a preset, and as you can see on screen here, you can put in things like heroes to learn, or you can have the mid heroes that you want to look at and want to be using, and then you can have anything else you want in here. You put a category that's like meta mid heroes right now, or this hero counters this hero. You can do it however you want to do it. That way, when you are looking at what heroes to pick, you're not just looking at every single hero option, and you're looking at ones that you've actually spent a little bit of time thinking about and going, hey, this seems pretty good right now, or I'd like to focus on learning this, and it doesn't slip your memory. So like I said, most people are going to know that you can do this. This is not a very like experienced player tip. You guys are going to know about this, but for those of you that don't, if you didn't, it's pretty useful. So maybe give it a go, see what you think about it if you haven't set it up, and yeah, well, let's move to the next tip. For this last tip, we're going to talk about Smoke of Deceit. This is something that is another recent-ish change, but if you're someone who's returning to the game since TI, maybe you didn't know about this, or maybe you just hadn't noticed. It is always a pain when your team is going to gank and they're using a Smoke of Deceit, and you just kind of miss, like you're just not quite in it. You're like, oh, come on, man, I'm not in the smoke now. Now you can actually walk towards the person who cast the smoke, so in this case, Lion, and as long as you get within 300 units, you will also be applied the Smoke of Deceit. So this is super useful, right? It was always a pain in the past if you just quite were outside of the range and you're like, oh no, now I've got to go the other way. I've got to hang back so I don't give away our position on wards and whatnot. And now you can go join that person, so you don't have to wait for your whole team to group around you, because sometimes you got to wait for that one person who just doesn't come over and you're like, please come and use the smoke. You can just cast it. They can walk over to you once they're finally finished doing their jungle camp, and you're good to go. One final thing. A lot of people seem to think that Smoke of Deceit doesn't actually cover up if you walk past a sentry. If you walk past a sentry and an observer ward, you're still invisible to this. So it says disguise grants invisibility that is immune to true sight. So even if you had a sentry ward down, the enemy team had a sentry ward down, and you walked over it, as long as there was no one to break that smoke nearby, they still can't see you. So you're okay, you can continue going, and so there you go. Tip number 1, as you can see, we have a tower here and we have my hero. Now, let's say you wanted to tower dive someone and kill them under the tower, which is why you would tower dive them, but you're thinking, I'm probably not going to get out of this tower now, this tower's going to kill me, or it's just going to deal a ton of damage to me. What can I possibly do? Well, did you know that if you actually use an iron branch between you and the tower will lose vision, even if you're in full range of it, and you can just walk out of the actual tower range and you are absolutely fine. Obviously, you'll have to like keep inside the range of this. If you go past the tree, then it is going to see you, but if you just walk in a straight line from the tree, then you'll be absolutely fine. This also means that you can plant a tree and just TP away as well, and you'll be okay. Like, you'll be fine. The tree is going to block the vision. The tower is no longer going to be able to see you, and because it can't see you, it will no longer be able to hit you. So if you are diving someone and they are getting pretty low, chuck down a tree, walk away, and you'll be absolutely fine, or just teleport straight out. Make sure you don't sway too far from that vision to make sure that the tower can't actually see you. Next up, did you know that if you have a Glepnir, you can actually use this to reveal invisible units? Now, of course, if you use it on somebody, then they go invis, you're going to be able to see them. We already know that. That's exactly like it's always been like that, right? But did you know that it will actually reveal them if they're already invis and you don't even know where they are? Like if you just have a feeling that there may be like a Ricky next to you, or I don't know, an invis bristleback for some crazy reason, you can cast this on the ground and it has a pretty decent AoE, as you can see here. The AoE for it is 375. Now, if we cast this, even though we can't see the unit, it is going to reveal that bristleback for us. Now, this only lasts 2 seconds, which isn't huge, but it's long enough for you to just quickly cast it and see if there's someone nearby, if you think there is. And then once there is, you can either use your dust or put down a sentry to reveal them, or if you just have enough damage in that time, you can get them killed off. However, of course, this does cost 200 mana to use, so you'll have to consider whether this is worth it or not. But if you do bump into someone, for example, as you can see, my character is looping around the bristleback here, invis units that aren't using a Shadow Blade don't get free pathing, so you can actually bump into them. This is the same for a Ricky Maru as well. If there's a Ricky nearby and you get blocked by it like this, and you see your character like doing this weird directional thing, and you're like, wait, what the frick? You know there's someone there, so use this on the ground, you can find them, and then you can kill them off, and you can make sure that they die, and frick those guys, man. There you go. So you can reveal people with the Glepnir, and also, yeah, you don't get free pathing when you go invis unless it's a Shadow Blade. So keep that in mind. Okay, so this next one comes up quite a lot in my games. I think because the thing that it's relevant to is new to the game. So we're going to be talking about wisdom runes. Now, many people will argue and fight and be angry that you are picking up a wisdom rune if you are a core, because, hey, I am so far behind as a support, that should have been my wisdom rune. Well, if this does happen, if somebody mentions this and they are the lowest level person in your team, tell them that they can chill out, they can relax, it's all okay, because the lowest XP person in your team will always get benefits from the wisdom rune. So the way this works is, if a core or a higher level person picks up a wisdom rune, they will receive the actual benefits of that experience, but also the lowest person in your team, which tends to be your position 5, right, unless they had a crazy good game, will also get bonus experience as well, no matter where they are. They don't have to be nearby or anything like that. Anywhere on the map, if you pick up a rune, they will also get that XP. But what if they pick up that rune? What's going to happen then? Well, if the person with the lowest XP picks up the rune, it will give it to the next lowest XP person as well. It's not going to double it for the first person. They will give it to maybe your pos 4 if they're the next lowest XP, or whatever, whoever is going to get that other bonus. So sometimes it actually does benefit to let your core pick up the wisdom rune, for example, your mid laner or your position 1, because they're going to get ahead, which is what you want, but also your lowest level is also going to benefit from that XP too. Obviously, a lot of people are going to know this, but I also know that a lot of people don't know this, because quite often in games, I have to say to people, yo, it's okay, don't panic, I know I took the rune, but you're still going to get the XP. Or you'll see a pos 5 running towards it, and I'm like, no, wait, let me pick it up, and then they're like, wait, what, why would you pick it up? Because you'll also get the XP. So keep that in mind. It is definitely worthwhile to take advantage of this, get one of your cores ahead, but also keep your position 5 caught up as well. So a lot of you guys probably know that you can hook runes for free, because when you hook the rune, if it lands, it refunds it to you. But did you know that you can use the soul ring and then hook the rune, and then it will basically refund the mana you cast from the soul ring? So when the soul ring runs out, you're going to notice that my mana actually stays at the same sort of percentage than it already did, refunding me the actual used mana in the first place. So this kind of acts like a little bit of a mana boots, but just for yourself. This is pretty cool, and I didn't even think about this. If you can hook a rune, you can soul ring, hook the rune, and even though soul ring mana is temporary and is removed afterwards, you actually get to keep the amount that you spent on the hook. Moving on, we're going to talk about Razor and Juggernaut and an interesting way that they kind of interact with each other. And that is, if you have Static Link leveled up and you're going on a Juggernaut, obviously this is kind of just an early game thing. You don't want to walk up to a really farmed Juggernaut, you're just going to die. But if you can get Static Link on him first, because your attack range, your cast range is bigger than his ultimate cast range, if he ults you, your Static Link will continue to drain his damage, meaning that his ultimate will deal a lot less damage than if you didn't get it on him, right? You're basically going to take almost no damage because you've taken it all from him. You're going to transfer 22 damage every single second, but his damage is pretty low in the early game. Obviously, he would have a few items, but not much more higher than that. Because you can outrange him, you can engage with a slow, use this, and then when he ults you, you actually don't take that much damage because, well, I mean, he he's lost all his damage. You've taken it off him. You've drained it all from him. You were a mid laner, for example, or an off laner, so you're out leveling him very slightly, and so you can take advantage of this. Meaning you can chase down that Jug and not give a crap if he's going to ult you, because then you can just kill him as soon as his ult ends, and who cares if he spins, right? Like he's still dead. So engage with the Q to make sure he's slow. Cast this on him and then kite him away. Obviously, he's going to chase you. You're going to kite him away. You're like, no, don't ult me. And then when he finally does, it doesn't even matter. Look, 0 damage. You kite him for a couple of seconds, and he's going to do absolutely nothing to you, or very little. So the first one is going to be actually related to how the hell do you demo mode in the actual main game, and not just in the mid lane thing that you would get where there's a little desert over there. How do you use the demo thing with all the different stuff, the dummy targets and whatnot, but in the actual world? This is way better than doing it in the other place. How do I do it? I've had a few people ask this, and so what you do is we're going to quit out so you can see. On the main menu, you are going to come to the armory, then go to world, go to terrain, and then pick your terrain, and then whatever it is, you can just double click it. And then you have to double click, by the way. Clicking once doesn't really do anything. I don't know why. Double click it, then click demo terrain. That way you're demoing the actual map, and it'll still give you the same demo interface. And you can do all of the other good stuff as well, just like before. In fact, this terrain looks absolutely badass. May have to get it. Holy hell. But then you can switch through, you can do all your different heroes and stuff. This is obviously better than like loading a custom lobby, enabling cheats and all that sort of stuff, so it just works a little bit better at testing things, in my opinion. Now this is only really like more useful if you were planning on doing like warding spots. Maybe you wanted to practice what wards were maybe useful to do, where you can hide them from like a Zeus or whatever, and all of that sort of good stuff. Neutral camps, there's no neutral camps in the other one, so if you want to demo that, you could do it here as well. And cheat codes work in here too, so if you need to like spawn neutrals or anything like that, you can do it on this map with the demo as well. Number 2 is going to be that you can ping or explain information to allies very easily without typing it by using the Alt left click or the Control Alt and left click on different things inside the game. So for example, there's many different things you can do this on, so we'll quickly go through some. If you Alt and left click a hero portrait, it's going to ping that they're missing. If you double click it, it'll do it twice. And then you can use Control Alt and left click to say that they've returned. So I do this a lot in mid, and I'm always like, they're going to get so annoyed with it. But at the same time, it's better that every time he walks out of vision, like the second an enemy walks out of vision, I'm like this, and I spam it loads, and I'm like, yeah, and I'll get on mic and say, they're missing. But it's also there in message as well. And then when they come back, I'll put it as returned. So like, if I just think they're wandering for the rune, I'll just ping this and I won't say anything. I'll just leave it like that. And then when I see them come back, I'll say, yeah, they've returned. And you can do this very easily. You constantly go through it in lane, and it's not as annoying as you going on mic going, okay, he's missing, okay, he's back, okay, you know what I mean? It's fine. Next thing that is really useful is any item cooldowns and stuff. You can ping these as well. So my blink's on cooldown, Alt left click. You can do that. Same for TP if it's ready or if it's on cooldown, same sort of thing, right? And then you can do the same with like items in here. If you want to suggest someone to maybe buy an item, you can Control Alt left click. I think someone should purchase the Spirit Vessel. Same with wards. If your support's not buying wards, just so you know though, Observer wards are free. You could always buy a couple of these yourself. But sentries and dust, all this sort of stuff, you can suggest it here, or you can tell them that you're going to buy it if you just use Alt click it by itself. The next one, which I absolutely love myself, is to do with the buyback. The reason I like it so much is because if you Alt and left click on this, it's going to say, I have enough gold for your Scepter of Divinity, right? So it'll tell you that you can afford to buy this item. But if you Control Alt and left click, it's going to say, I have enough gold for the item and buyback. And if you didn't have enough, then it would say, I need 2,000 more gold for the item and for buyback. So it's a nice, safe way and quick way to know whether you're okay to buy an item or not and how you buy back. Now, of course, if you hover over this, it's still going to tell you, but there's like so many lines of text, loads of different numbers. It's so much faster to just click this and go, okay, I need this much. And it also tells your allies as well. So it's pretty useful. You can also just Alt left click this. It'll tell you got buyback and all this other good stuff. So there's many things you can do. You can even do talents and whatnot. Like you can Alt click these as well. Just have a mess around with what you can use it on. But the missing one is super useful. If you don't know this one, make sure to use it. And then obviously the things like with checking your buyback and whatnot. I do it like every single game all the time. So take advantage of these. This next tip is to sort of stress the importance of denying towers and how valuable it can actually be. Many of you are going to know that it's obviously, if you get a last hit on a tower, you're going to get gold for your team, and the hero that gets the last hit is also going to get a bit of extra gold themselves. Now, It's important to keep in mind though that if you do manage to deny a tower, which you should definitely try your best to do, not only are you going to be denying the enemies half of the gold that they would normally get for killing a tower, because killing a tower gives gold to everybody in the team, you will also be giving your allies half of that gold for your team as well. So if you deny a tower here, you'll actually give half of the gold that the enemies would have got to your own team. So this is very valuable, super important. It's like crazy how good this is. So do your best to deny towers rather than just going, well, it's going to die anyway, it doesn't matter too much. A deny is very, very valuable. So our next tip is going to be knowing that if you are going to be using a tango, you can actually plant an iron branch and eat the iron branch tree for extra regen from your tango. You see this in the last 30 seconds now, but instead it would, like normally it would only last 16 seconds. You get 32 seconds, so twice as long if you use an iron branch, which is super useful because it doubles the value of that one tango. But most people are going to know this already. The actual tip of this was that if you're trading with someone in lane, and you're just trading back and forth like this, and you're like, oh crap, this is going to be close, we don't know who's going to win, you can eat the tango like this while you're in lane, and you can go back to trading, and you will out heal some of the damage that they deal, meaning that you should, when we get to the end of this trade, hopefully, if I'm talking about this correctly, you should win that trade. There you go. So it was very close, but the difference is likely going to be the actual tango heal. So you out healed them, and you managed to pull off some of that damage that they did to you and get it back. This is super useful for someone who's trading as a support. Even if you just use it on a tree, it's still, obviously you can use the iron branch to double that value, but you can make sure you're regenning when trading with other people as a support. And also another thing you can do is take advantage of this as you're running away. Because obviously if they're chasing you and you're like, oh crap, oh no, what am I going to do? You plant the tree. What the frick? You plant the tree, you eat the tree, and you run. And then you can get some regen back as you're running away, giving you that chance for one extra right click before they actually manage to kill you off. So this final tip has quite a few different things to cover, so do bear with, but there's gonna be a few tips all tied into one. I thought it should be the same tip because it's all similar. Anyway, that is going to be that a lot of people already know that when you want to use regen, for example, if I want to restore some mana here with my bottle, I will get more out of it if I backpack my stats here, then use the regen, because this restores a flat number, and then put this back in, and because it's percentage based with the actual how much you have and then adding stats to it, you'll get more value from the regen that you just used. So a lot of people will do this. You'll put your iron branches or your null talismans in before you use your bottle or a mango or anything like that. You should definitely do this. However, as you see, when you put this in your backpack and then back to your inventory, you have a 6-second cooldown before that item's available again. If you're feeling sneaky and you feel safe to do so, you can drop this on the floor, use the regen, then pick it back up, and it will be immediately ready to use again with no cooldown. Obviously, you're risking that someone could come along and take that, snipe it from you, or kill it or whatever. But if you know it's safe, then you can definitely do that, take advantage of it. So that's the first thing. The next thing is that, say for example, you kept this ring here because you wanted to restore a little bit of mana. You're a hero that struggles with mana a lot, so you wanted to swap this around every now and again to restore the mana when it was ready off cooldown. It's got a 6-second cooldown before you can use it. This cooldown does not exist if you are in a shop. But if you're in the secret shop, then there's no cooldown. You can swap these in however you want, and there's no cooldown for it at all. The same goes for if you put these null talismans in your backpack. You can use your regen while it's in your backpack. Use the regen here, then put it back up. There'll be no cooldown for this either. So this can be super useful because, say for example, you're on a hero like Viper, and you have no mana left. You kept your ring. You know that you're going to be passing the shop, so you walk up and you're like, okay, we walk into here. We quickly swap this out. We use the ring. We swap it out again, and then we leave. And there's no cooldown on this. We're good to keep going. So you can take advantage of the secret shops quite a bit in terms of cooldowns. And if you need to regen as well, come here, use your salve, wait for the salve, put this back in, and then you're good to go and leave without any cooldowns. First of all, did you know that Jakiro's liquid fire attack actually slows down buildings attack speed as well? So towers, if you use this on them, will actually attack you slower than if you didn't use it on them. And it's not just a little bit too, it makes them a hell of a lot slower, making diving towers super easy. So you could use this on a tower early on in the game if you're planning on tower diving, but also if the enemy uses fortification on, for example, a tier 3 tower, which is then going to hit everything in the area, you could use it on one of those. And even when it's used fortification, the attack rate of this tower is still going to be slower, meaning that, you know, it's probably not going to clear off your entire creep wave, so you can still keep pushing. This is super strong, and if you do have it available, then take advantage. In your settings, there is an option called select all other units. You should actually bind this and take advantage of it because it makes controlling other units that you like illusions from Illusion Rune or anything that you conjure or anything like this without spending too much time. It makes it a hell of a lot easier to go and send them to push waves, for example, and not end up accidentally mismicroing. I see a lot of people who will get an Illusion Rune and then their main healer will stand there for like even just a second or two while they micro the other stuff. Having this set to something nice and easy to use, I use tab for example, you can just press that and then send a command but also move your character at the same time without really too much issues whatsoever. So do take advantage of the select all other units keybind because it is super useful and save you a lot of time. Going back into the settings menu, there is actually another option that allows you to set right click as being deny. Now this will basically mean that if you can deny a unit and you right click on it, it will do the deny. However, if you can't, you will just do the regular old follow that unit as you would normally anyway. That being said, the reason this is super useful is if you are, for example, laning in mid or anywhere really, but mid tends where you're going to be seeing this more, and you have a sentry ward right in the middle of the lane because you tried to either deward the enemy's observers, or you were trying to make sure you weren't going to get ganked by a Nyx or by like a Riki or something like that. It is pretty common that you might have a sentry ward in the middle of the lane. However, if you are someone who uses the A and then left click to deny on an allied creep, sometimes this can be a pain in the ass when the allied creeps stack up with your sentry ward and you just can't click correctly and you start denying your freaking sentry ward, showing them one that you've got one there, but two, you miss the deny as well. So if you do have right click deny enabled, this means that it won't actually target the sentry ward, it will target the creep, so you can use this in that situation. If you're enjoying this video so far, please do click that subscribe button. I have a ton more of these videos coming, like a lot of them coming over the next few days, and this channel's pretty small right now and growing pretty quick, so I appreciate it a ton. It helps out so much, and we're still at a really high percentage of people that are watching all the videos that aren't actually subbed yet. So click the button, let's get back to the video. At the beginning of the game, everybody tries to get bounty runes. However, if you have an alchemist on your team, you really want to do your best to let him pick up one of the bounty runes, if not possibly more of them if you have the chance to, because he will actually get a gold multiplier. Revel's Greed for alchemist has a bounty rune multiplier of 2, so doubling the amount of gold that you're going to get for bounty runes is something that you definitely want to take advantage of. Obviously, if you can't do this safely, it is something that you probably just want to just pick it up anyway, but even later on in the game, it could be worth maybe saving those bounty runes for an alchemist to pick up if you have the chance to. We're going to go back into the settings menu for the last one here as well, and that is enable the option called teleport requires hold or stop. This is super useful if you, one, are someone who constantly accidentally moves and cancels your TP. A lot of people prefer not to use this setting, so if you don't want to, then of course this is fine. But if you are someone who accidentally cancels TP a lot, then it might be worth putting it so you have to press stop or hold. But also, this allows you very easily to start spamming abilities or like blinks or anything like this ready for when you arrive at a location. Basically, it's just going to make it so that you're not risking canceling your teleport by trying to either shift queue abilities, maybe you accidentally don't press the shift, or trying to like, you know, get ready and use an ability early, you haven't quite arrived yet and you cancel your thing. You can definitely throw a game if your team is about to fight and you need to teleport in and then your TP gets cancelled. It's not a good feeling, it's really unfortunate, so having this enabled is going to stop that from happening. So there's 30 more things, in fact 29 because I had to remove one about Dazzle that just wasn't a thing anymore, but things that you should already know but maybe you didn't actually know them. Again, this video was obviously one that I've just taken from my last videos and merged all together because many people see one video but don't see the rest of them, so hopefully you found this useful as well. That being said, we will be back to the regular posts very, very soon, and I have some really cool things planned, so do subscribe if you want to catch that. Otherwise, I'll catch you all in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.